Hey there, true believers. After a mixed bag first year for the budding MCU, Favreau was back with a sequel. Following up a movie is never easy, and doubly so when that movie is a hit. Iron Man 2 had the insurmountable task of being the follow-up to the hugely successful Iron Man and the next step in a budding Marvel Cinematic Universe. In some ways, this is the ultimate middle child, and though not a great movie, it was a great world builder, and in doing so, did a lot of the heavy lifting to allow for future greatness. But in doing so, it sacrificed its own glory. A quick overview before we delve in. Tony is dealing with a form of blood poisoning, as the arc reactor that is keeping him alive is simultaneously killing him. While trying to get his affairs in order, he's accosted by Ivan Vanko, who claims the arc technology was stolen from his father. After he takes him down, Hammer takes the opportunity to use Ivan to make his own Iron Man suits. Tony, still dealing with the blood poisoning, makes a series of questionable decisions before Fury steps in and helps him out. Back to 100%, he steps up to Ivan once more, and the power of friendship prevails. The story is simple and a little disjointed, but considering the rumours surrounding production and studio interference, something that Marvel has continued to do with varying success over the years, we can give it a little leeway. That said, let's rewind and take a look at it. As the Marvel logo goes up, we get the interview from the end of the first movie played underneath. A nice way of saying previously on, well, actually saying it. We pan over a snowy city, showing signs of poverty, the visual telling us it's probably Russia and gives the audience a taste of the potential life of our villain. One thing the MCU isn't known for is its interest in or nuanced villains, something they have been trying to fix with some results. That leads me to the introduction of our antagonist, Ivan Vanko. It's not a bank heist or a terrorist attack, not an action scene or giving some maniacal speech while twirling his moustache. No, he's tending to his sickly father as he passes away. What we see here is his grief, and grief is a strong motivator. As he shifts through blueprints, the Stark logo for the arc reactor technology is visible, and we see the designers were Anton Vanko and Howard Stark. Not even 3 minutes into the movie, and we have established a Russian counterpart to Tony, his father's name next to Tony's own, highlighting him as a brilliant man. We've seen the dilapidated state of his dwelling, in contrast to Stark's wealth, and his father's last words were, "It should have been you." That's sufficient storytelling right there. The montage of him working is like a mirror to the first act of Iron Man, even showing much of the same imagery on his wall. I'd like to mention the score here. The deep brass sound and low choir gives a militarist, slightly sinister but oddly uplifting feel, symbolising the patriotic nature of Ivan's motherland. In contrast, Tony tends towards a more bombastic approach, and the soundtrack moves to show this. And this also represents to us the difference in their cultures. In the first Iron Man film, we saw Tony change from being a womanising warmonger to a man who would be accountable. These changes in his outlook may have altered the core, but the outer shell looks very much the same. And this is represented to us by this Stark Expo. On the surface, it's fireworks, girls, and AC/DC. But underneath, the idea is about driving innovation and the betterment of humanity. And later, it goes even deeper. Tony's speech is great. It personifies some of his best and worst qualities.
Because I haven't come across anyone who's man enough to go toe-to-toe with me on my best day.
This foreshadows his sin, pride. And it's this that becomes his Achilles heel again and again. And speaking of foreshadowing,
it's about legacy. It's about what we choose to leave behind.
We're introduced to Howard Stark and the first Stark Expo, and who'd think a diorama was going to play such a big part in the overall plot? As Tony said,
it's not even about us, it's about legacy.
He's more his father's son than he realises, which is a major theme of the movie, legacy. While the video is playing, we are introduced to another story element. This plays into one of the movie's subplots and acts as a driver of legacy, as Tony's own plays on his mind. The palladium poisoning acts as a stand-in for the themes of alcoholism, mirroring the demon in the bottle story arc from the comics. The first-person view is an interesting choice. It brings us into Tony's world through his eyes for a moment, and we see just how chaotic his life can be as a celebrity. The shaker cam also feeds into the idea of feeling drunk.
He doesn't like to be handed things.
Yeah, I have a peeve.
I really like the continuation of his character trait, grounding him a little, having a unique oddity. There's a few fan theories surrounding this, such as it being a trauma response from the events of the first movie, when he was handed the tools to build the rocket. There's a theory that he could be a germaphobe, or that it's a physical attribute to his trust issues. Personally, my favourite is the representation of his need to always be in control. He is a genius, always working things out, thinking of the next problem to be solved. Being handed something is outside of his control, and he's given the thing, a representative of the answer. Whether any of this is true is speculation, but it adds a facet to his character nonetheless. We all enjoy this scene, watching Tony's stick it to the man, so to speak, but it also speaks to some of the themes laid out in the intro credits, of government overreach and the two sides of the coin, because America is the land of the free, right?
Priority is to get the Iron Man weapon turned over to the people of the United States of America.
Well, you can forget it.
Now, it would be easy to side with Tony, being pulled in before a hearing, demanding that you hand over your invention, something that you poured blood, sweat and tears into. But then, is it wrong to hold him to account? Is the Iron Man suit a weapon?
Well, it depends on how you define the word weapon.
This debate is at the heart of gun control and tackles some complex topics. Although, we have already seen what happens when the military experiments with new weapons. They bring in Justin to hammer home that very point, that Tony is an expert weapons manufacturer, and that his father was an expert, reminding us of what the movie is about. But really, this is a continuation of his growth from the first film, where he used to sell his wares to the US government. Now, while contemplating his mortality, he refuses to place weapons into untrustworthy hands. Actions have consequences. For Tony, he built a suit to get out of an impossible situation. He saw the consequences of his actions and sought to change them to do better. But it seems those actions may now have consequences.
Our very strength invites challenge. Challenge incites conflict.
And so the cycle continues. Note the chuggy guitar riff. It reminds me of something. The movie demonstrating the themes of duality again. Tony is back in his workshop, and I want to pause on the suits. This is not only a nice Easter egg and callback to the first movie, showing us 3 iterations, but a cool touch is the wording. Reconstruction, prototype, battle damaged, and the foreshadowing for the end of the movie awaiting upgrade. Maybe like a new element. This also highlights a development in Stark's personality. In the first movie, he wasn't nostalgic, only ever looking forward. But it was Pepper keeping Tony's first reactor that saved his life. Keeping each iteration of the armour shows a new respect for the past and not just the future. This brings us to Monaco and what will be the first of 2 major set pieces in the movie. This is one of Tony's bad decisions, leaving him in a vulnerable position and having to be rescued. Once he has the suit, he quickly and easily takes him down. There is almost a self-awareness that the idea of Whiplash is a lame. On the way to see Whiplash, I like that they are speaking French, and Tony's reply implies without being stated before or ever again that he speaks French, which helps build out the character. Moving on to Justin Hammer. Like his surroundings, he's dressed in white in light colours. Even the roses are white, the symbol of purity which is all part of the front he puts on. He's the good guy, as we've seen with his attempted subterfuge with Tony at the hearing and Monaco.
I'm no expert. I defer to you, Anthony.
Anthony, is that you?
Although Hammer is a weapons manufacturer, his weapon is deceit. And here we have the central theme of the movie explicitly stated.
If I may, you go after his legacy. That's what you kill.
Tony's spiral and clear alcohol abuse at the party pays homage to the comic book run, but also, in a weird way, to Robert Downey Jr. himself, who had previously dealt with addiction. I really like the opening to the fight, showcasing that even while drunk, Tony has such mastery of the suit over Rhodey, who doesn't really know what he's doing. Rhodey's moves are grounded, throwing things and hitting him with pipes, whereas Tony makes full use of the thrusters and moves with more fluidity. The battle climaxes on a reference to what will become Rhodey's name.
You want to be the war machine? Take your shot.
And Tony is genuine in this moment. He's feeding into the blaze of glory trope rather than withering away to a disease. You may think that Rhodey took the suit or stole it, but all the events leading to this moment, the suit was a gift. Tony getting his house in order.
Contrary to popular belief, I know exactly what I'm doing.
He didn't want the government getting their hands on the suit because he didn't trust them, and thought no one was close to replicating it. Venkov proved that theory wrong. At the same time, he'd been getting his affairs in order with Pepper and the company. Now was the time to pass on the Iron Man technology, but he wasn't going to hand it over to just anyone.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What? No, he took it?
Funny enough, this leads us to his run-in with Fury.
I'm gonna have to ask you to exit the donut.
And the reveal of Agent Romanov.
You're fired.
They inject Stark with some movie-made medicine to alleviate his symptoms and effectively tell him to get working on curing himself. Tony's conversation with Nick serves to further the plot, but more importantly unboxes Tony's relationship with his father. Important for the movie's narrative beats, but also the next stop in his character journey, started in the first Iron Man movie. The scene with Rhodey and Hammer is just pure fun, showcasing just how good Sam Rockwell is when left to roll.
These are the Cubans, baby. These are the Cohibas, the Monte Cristos.
Playing the footage of his father.
Tony, I built this for you.
This works in context of the narrative and continues the motif, but more so, it foreshadows the future.
You will change the world.
And indeed it does, but perhaps not in the way Howard had envisioned. We get another nice little scene of Tony picking up strawberries for Pepper, showing again his aversion to being handed things. Howard's word comes to fruition.
I'm limited by the technology of my time.
This makes good use of the holographic Stark tech established in the first film and continues to show that it's integral to moving the plot, not just a flashy design choice. Of course, we're well into movie science again, but this still showcases Tony Stark as a genius.
Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave!
But it does also highlight that he's his father's son, and that Howard was no dullard. This is a quiet moment, but we see an understated change in Tony's understanding of his father.
Still taking me to school. Next time.
And with that, we have done away with the Palladium poisoning mini-arc. I see this as somewhat of a shame, and wonder how the character would have progressed if this story was slowed down and played out longer over the course of the whole MCU. But this leads us into the third act. Watching Hammer's presentation reminds me of a storyline that we're a little far off of.
Today I present to you the new face of the United States military.
I see a suit of armor around the world.
Tony isn't as far removed from Justin as he thinks. They both believe that defending the world means the use of faceless drones, the concept replacing man with machine becoming a constant concern in modern times. This is punctuated by Hammer's inability to take back control. Even Tony can't get back control from Venko, showing the folly of over-reliance on technology. Think back to the start of the film.
Oh, boy, I'm good. I commandeered your screens.
Tony's had his own tricks used against him. This leading us to the human component.
Where is he?
He's at my facility.
It has since been confirmed that this kid was in fact Peter Parker. Knowing what we do about the MCU, this was probably not canon at the point of filming, but has been retrospectively thought of as canon due to the future ties that these characters would have. It makes sense that Peter would have father issues of his own, having lost his own parents and his Uncle Ben. Why wouldn't he feel an attachment to a hero that saved his life as a child? This serves as a visual epilogue to the themes of fatherhood. Also, a prequel to what will become Tony's own battle with the father moniker. The corridor scene works better as an action sequence because it juxtaposes Happy being a large brute force to Natasha's small frame. Up until now, we've seen flashes of her competence, but this introduction to the Black Widow works, not because it's badass babe taking on men twice her size, but instead showcasing her ability to use her strengths to her advantage. She doesn't fight fair. She uses gadgets, and her moves utilise momentum, often using her whole body to get the relevant leverage that she needs. Black Widow is a force to be reckoned with because she is not a force, but uses speed and subterfuge, similar to the way she works when undercover. In the end, it's the human element on site that...
You got your best friend back.
This is also used to wrap up the loose threads of...
Why didn't you tell me that?
I was gonna make you an omelet.
The final battle doesn't serve any particular narrative structure outside of the bombastic finish, and paying off this line from the first movie.
Next time, baby.
Though alas, it wasn't meant to be, eh? Like with a few elements from the last act, Favreau does a great job of throwing back to his setup earlier in the movie.
Drop it, Tony! Take it!
Which is a tried and tested storytelling technique. We get the obligatory Hollywood ending with Tony and Pepper finally doing their Hollywood kiss thing. And this time, when Rhodey takes off with the suit, it's because he's earned the right and become a hero in his own right. Favreau, not one for classic Hollywood endings.
Tony Stark not recommended?
We can't talk about Favreau's second outing without talking about some of the politics at play. Despite the budding MCU owning its success to him, this time round the studio wanted more input, adding more setup for future movies. This led to a lot of rewrites, even while they were shooting, and compromising the movie's own DNA. This inevitably led to Favreau turning down directing duties on Iron Man 3. Favreau is a company man at heart, and so rather than making a spectacle of this disagreement, he let it out in his art.
You like it?
Yeah. Now suddenly you're going to be an artist. Well, be an artist on your own time. It's my restaurant.
So you're threatening to fire me now?
I'm telling you what I'm prepared to do if you don't cook my menu.
His dramatic weight gain can only be explained by the fact that he must be eating all the food sent back to the kitchen.
Who cares?
I do, because I could have done better. I should have cooked food that I was gonna cook.
All in all, Iron Man 2 isn't a bad movie, though not a memorable one. It's a workhorse in that it sets us up for what is to come and serves to introduce characters and further develop the ones we know. I ran this script past Rich.
Again, Thronies, are we actually going with that?
Thronies. We've always had Thronies.
Like bronies or something.
Yeah,
Thronies.
Yeah, we talked about this.
I mean, I could go Throners, but...
How about...
Yeah, that guy. And he said, yeah, but it's Whiplash. It's not like Killmonger or anything. And to that I say, actually, it's exactly like that. The villains are both motivated by the death of their father and envy for their counterpart as they live a better life than them, and they feel that they're somehow owed something. In the case of our heroes, they both go on a journey of discovery relating to their father and their legacy. In one case, they resent them and discover a love and kindness that they thought was missing. In the other, they find a dark secret they look to fix for a brighter future. Really, the only difference between these movies was that one had an established formula sandbox to play in, while the other one was in the midst of them finding their feet. Though we don't always think of films like this and The Incredible Hulk as great MCU movies, they have a role to play in forming the final picture. And without them, we wouldn't have got the truly memorable ones.